This taker once tried to test me. I ate his liver with some fava beans in a nice cantina. Guys, it's that time of the year. It's Valentine's Day, and it's like, what better way than to review Silence of the Lambs? It came out 25 years ago today. I can't believe it. This film, guys, is a horror film, and it is really, really well made. But the question is, has it aged well? And I'm going to answer that later on in the review. But to start things off, for those of you that don't know what it's basically about the famous Clarice Sterling, who's an FBI trainee, one of the best, and she's called into the office by Jack Crawford, and Jack Crawford basically wants her to interrogate Hannibal Lector because there's a serial killer going around killing women called Buffalo Bill. And it's like, why not, if there's a serial killer out there, why not get a serial killer that's in jail and try and find out, like, how the mind of a serial killer works. It's a great psychological study. And so Clarice is basically doing quid pro quo to Hannibal Lecter, and that's what the first half of the film is. But this is a film that's a crime procedural film, a drama, a horror film. It's a lot of things. And I just want to start this off right now by saying, like, wow, Anthony Hopkins was fantastic in this film. Obviously, I'm not Anthony Hopkins, but I tried dressing as him. I tried, like, the elevator scene. I tried to do that, get-go. But no, Anthony Hopkins owns this role. He's only in it 16 minutes, but he is so iconic, and he's my personal favorite villain ever. The way they develop him is just so great, and just the way, like, his eyes, if you notice, they never move. It's just fantastic acting. And on top of that, he has a very robotic voice, like, I do wish we could chat longer, Clarice, but I'm having an old friend for dinner. It's just fantastic acting. And on top of that, you have Clarice Sterling, played by the excellent Jodie Foster, and her southern accent. It's just great. It's just great acting on both of them. And that's just it. The film is extremely interesting all the way through, but it's the most interesting and the most iconic when these two are kind of bantering back and forth, which kind of leads to the screenplay. The screenplay is top-notch. The dialogue in this film is just like way, way above average than what this genre is used to. Most horror films don't have good scripts. They rely on jump scares to kind of garner scares, but this film doesn't do that. This film relies on the tension and the building of music and editing. The editing in this film is fantastic. One of my favorite scenes that kind of involves editing, and when people ask me, like, what's a great example of editing, I oftentimes say, well, the elevator scene in Silence of the Lambs. That scene alone is great, but just the way they edit it and going back and forth, it's just fantastic. And another great scene is towards the end, which, again, this is spoiler-free review, but towards the end, there's a scene involving a house and a SWAT team, and that scene is also extremely well edited. The whole film is well edited, but those are two standout scenes. And this film is just nearly flawless. There's not much I can say that's negative, and Howard Shore's iconic score is especially worth noting because he's one of those composers where he's most remembered for Lord of the Rings, but a score such as this, it really just builds the tension of the film in such a great way. And Jonathan Demme's directing is just spot on. Like, I wasn't a fan of his film Philadelphia, but the way he just shot the film is just incredible. He always has the characters. Actually, I shouldn't say always the characters. I should more or less say Clarice. Every time Clarice is in frame, the camera is always, like, at other people, the way that she would be looking at them. It's very interesting. So the way I'm looking at you guys, that's basically the way this camera is, and especially towards the beginning. It's just great camera work and great directing on both of their ends. So is there any negatives, though, and has this film aged well? I'll answer the first question. I think that there are no real negatives other than Buffalo Bill. And I know a lot of people love Buffalo Bill and they love his iconic dance scene. But fact of the matter is, I think that whenever the film kind of was like focused on him, I thought that it lost steam and it was less interesting. Sure, I understand you kind of have to develop his character, but the way they developed him, it just kind of felt like, let's get to Clarice and Hannibal, please. That's the only negative I can think of. I mean, I don't really want to go in depth with it because I know it's been out 25 years, but I want the people that haven't seen it to be really surprised by the film. Now, has this film aged well? I think it has aged extremely well, and I think the cinematography really holds up well. There are some films from the early 90s in which you can kind of tell that it was just like a Academy Award film for the time, but won't really be remembered years from now. But the thing is, Silence of the Lambs, it's remembered by not only critics, movie buffs, but general audiences alike, and that's something definitely worth, like, just kind of honoring. And I'm going to be giving The Silence of the Lambs a 4.75 out of 5 stars, or for those that want a letter grade, an A. Guys, this is a masterfully done film. Please check it out if you haven't already. And I'll probably be reviewing Deadpool soon. We'll see. And if you guys have any questions or comments, comment down below. Let me know.